A very good evening and thank you for joining us here on Rwanda Television for the English News Bulletin. We'll begin with the headlines. Rwanda and Germany have signed a grant agreement worth 20.97 million euro, equivalent to over 30 billion Rwandan francs. The Chief Justice Domitila Mukantaganzwa has called on newly appointed court leaders to prioritize cases related to murder, corruption and genocide ideology. On the international scene, with the incoming Trump administration's pledge to begin mass deportation of undocumented immigrants in the United States, some mayors in the democratic states are taking steps to prepare for the new policies. My name is Olive Nathan. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Now let's dive in today's edition. This afternoon at Urugwiro village, President Kagame received Honorable Tete Antonio, Angolan Minister of Foreign Affairs, who delivered as special envoy a message on behalf of His Excellency President João Lourenço, facilitator of the Rwanda process. Also, President Kagame also met with a delegation from the African Materials Research Society and the African Renaissance Institute for Science and Technology, led by AMRS Board Chair, Professor Wole Soboyejo, and the delegation is in Kigali for the ongoing 12th International Conference of the bringing together over 500 of the world's top material scientists, researchers, industrialists, and professors in different fields to build knowledge, promote collaboration, and reflect on the needs of the global research community and the needs that are specific to Africa. Now to other matters. Rwanda and Germany have signed a grant agreement worth 20.97 million euros, equivalent to over 30 billion Rwandan francs. The funding will support projects aimed at addressing climate change challenges. And Gladys has more on this.
This agreement is part of Rwanda-Germany partnership to tackle climate change and promote sustainable development, established in 2022. It aims to support Rwanda's goals of addressing the impacts of climate change and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Yusuf Murangwa, highlighted the significance of this agreement in protecting the environment, which aligns with the Rwanda's national objectives.
Project worth 20.97 million euros, grant estimated at around 30 billion Rwandan francs, which aims to improve the quality of life and climate resilience of the urban population, with a particular focus on women. This project is a result of the joint assessment conducted by the government of Rwanda through REMA and KFW for a climate risk analysis and suitable options for climate adaptive and gender-sensitive public green space in Rwandan cities. The assessment comprised 5 cities in Rwanda, namely Rusizi, Rwamagana, Nyagatare, Muhanga, and Huye. For each of these cities, the assessment focused on identification of key climate change related risks, identification of urban areas with highest risks and vulnerabilities, assessment of suitable sites for the project investment, and recommended climate adaptive and gender responsive nature-based solutions for the proposed sites.
The Germany ambassador to Rwanda, Heik Utadetman, emphasized that Rwanda's environmental protection goals benefit its citizens, which is why Germany provided this support.
This is important. This is not only important for bureaucratic reasons, but it's important because what Rwanda is doing with German support is important for the development of the people. So this is why I think it's not just a bureaucratic thing, but this is something that has real importance. And climate, well, only a few weeks ago, we had the global climate negotiations in Azerbaijan, COP29. So it's very fitting that today it's about kicking off 2 climate initiatives that are part of the Rwanda-German Climate and Development Partnership.
The Director General of Rwanda Environment Management Authority, REMA, Juliet Kabera, stated that agreements like these provide confidence that Rwanda will achieve its target of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 38% by 2030, with an estimated cost of $11 billion to meet this goal.
We know that it's coming to, again, contribute to climate change resilience, adaptation, and we cannot, again, claim to have sustainable development if we don't have this component catered for. So we, again, welcomed that the gender-sensitive green space, green public spaces, is coming to contribute to the gap that we have to cover our NDC targets. We know that our target was to have 11 billion USD by the year 2030, starting from 2020, and reducing 38% of emissions. We are in the right direction because initiatives such as this and many more, and we are now very much optimistic that with a new strategy that was just launched this year, a lot of efforts are coming together, aligning towards building the resilience and reducing, mitigating the impacts of climate change.
At the United Nations Climate Change Conference COP29, held in Baku, Azerbaijan, Rwanda showcased the progress it has made in protecting the environment. This included initiatives aimed at attracting investments and encouraging other countries to engage with Rwanda's carbon market. Enora Gladys, RwandaTV News. Enora Gladys, reporting for Radio Rwanda.
Moving ahead to other matters, the High Court resumed the trial of a group of 9 individuals, including YouTubers, accused for plotting to overthrow the government. The court reviewed more than 10 audio recordings presented by the prosecution as evidence of the alleged plot. We have more on this. The case involves Theonest Nsengimana, owner of the YouTube channel RwandaTV, and Dieudonné Nsenga, also known as Kyuma Hassan, owner of the channel Ishema TV. The prosecution presented 2 out of 10 audio recordings to the High Court as evidence. The recordings allegedly implicate some of the defendants in charge of forming and joining a criminal group, creating public disorder, spreading rumors, and other related offenses. As part of what they referred to as the Tornado Operation, some of the accused allegedly enlisted traders, commonly known as street vendors, to distribute at least 5,000 uniforms to motorcyclists across the country. These uniforms reportedly bore slogans aimed at denigrating the country's leadership. They also allegedly planned to use certain village and cell leaders to mobilize the population to reject government programs and organize protests aimed at denouncing the leadership. Those involved in this plan allegedly intended to use certain journalists to amplify what they supposedly call public grievances through video magazines, social media, and other platforms, with the aim of creating a narrative that would facilitate them to overthrow the government. In a recorded conference call involving some of the defendants present in court, discussions reportedly took place regarding plans to recruit residents from the former prefectures of Gikongoro, Cyangugu, and Kibuye. The plan also included distributing anonymous leaflets referred to as tracts across the country. These leaflets allegedly contained defamatory statements against authorities and incited the population to participate in protests. After reviewing the 2 recordings, the defense lawyers requested additional time to discuss the contents with their clients and prepare their defense. The court granted the request, scheduling the commencement of the defense proceedings for January 6, 2025. In this case, the prosecution also names Ingabire Victoire Umuhoza, leader of the illegal Dalfa Umurinzi party, as the alleged coordinator of the plot to overthrow the government, alongside Bernard Ntaganda, a former member of the PS Imberakuri party, who was later expelled on charges of divisionism. However, neither of these individuals is among those currently being tried by the court. Tomorrow News, Chief Justice Domitila Mukanaganzwa has called on newly appointed court leaders to prioritize cases related to murder, corruption, and genocide ideology. She made the request today, Wednesday, after swearing in of 6 High Court officials. We have more with Prince Manzi.
Ndahiro Rwanda ku mugaragaro The sworn-in include 3 court presidents and 3 vice presidents. Stating the code of ethics of this sector, Harrison Mutabazi, the spokesperson of the judiciary, affirms that the independence given to courts by the Constitution is not to be misused.
The Honorable Chief Justice has just stated during the swearing-in ceremony of the new judicial officers that assumed office in various capacities. She commented on the independence of the judiciary, the independence of the judges, but also stated that their independence, the independence that they are granted by the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, should not be misused. So also to echo what the Honorable Chief Justice has stated, it's what we are taught, it's what we are mandated when we are going to join, assume our office. It's even in our code of ethics that we are definitely independent. Even our Constitution grants judicial officers independence in the execution of their jobs, their work, their daily duties. But the independence that we are granted by the constitutions, by the various laws, should not be misused to detriment the delivery or the dispensation of justice.
Rwanda's Chief Justice, Domitira Mukanaganzwa, who presided over the swearing-in ceremony of these court officials, has called on newly appointed court leaders to prioritize cases related to murder, corruption, and genocide ideology.
Icyambere ni ukwihutisha imanza z'abaregwa ibyaha by'ubwicanyi.
Firstly, you have to fasten the criminal cases and those related to genocide ideology. And if possible, they are to be read publicly where the offense was committed. Second, it is to fasten cases of corruption and related crimes because the Rwanda we want cannot be achieved if people are still embezzling public money, thinking that they will not be followed upon.
And the sworn-in officials include 4 that will serve at the high courts of Gicumbi, Musanze, Rubavu and Rusizi. 2 court officials will serve in the commercial high court in Kigali. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Now to other matters. Owners of factories that process and add value to various products have expressed agreement with data showing growth in the industrial sector during the 3rd quarter of 2024. However, economic analysts suggest that the government could play a pivotal role in helping domestic industries achieve competitiveness on the global market. We have more on this. Growth is acknowledged by both Rwandans and foreign industrial owners in the country, although some have raised concerns about the need to protect certain industries.
Let's say that this year the growth has increased from 15% to 20% in East Africa. That's generally where we are working, especially in the production of edible vegetable cooking oil. I would say that things are going pretty well, despite some challenges. If this trend continues, Rwanda export sector will be in a strong position.
We wanted to make it as a hub for this. We start from Rwanda and we export from here as well. But definitely Rwanda being our main manufacturing country, we would like to first cover up the whole country as a whole. We serve the country and then we export to all the regions, the nearby countries, and go ahead as well.
In July, August and September 2024, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, along with the National Institute of Statistics, reported an 8% growth in the industrial sector, and overall this sector contributes 20% to the country's gross domestic product. The Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Yusuf Murangwa, emphasized that industrial development is closely tied to increased investment in the sector.
Iyo production izamuka mu nganda muri service hose ikazamuka uyu mwaka.
When production is increasing at all levels, whether in industries, the service sector, or elsewhere, it signifies investment. However, as production continues to rise, it becomes necessary to pause investments temporarily to ensure stability. This is often seen in industries and the construction sector. When growth is rapid, it is important to take a step back to stabilize the situation, allowing other activities to proceed smoothly.
In the second phase of the National Strategy for Transformation, it is projected that by 2029, 1,250,000 new jobs will be created. equating to 250,000 jobs per year. Under NST2, the industrial sector is expected to grow at a rate of 10.6%. To achieve this target, economist François Kanimba believes that the government should play a more active role in supporting industrialists.
ntekereza yuko muri programu ya leta ijyana no gutera imbere inganda.
I believe that in government's program, which aligns with the development of industries, we need to evaluate the current categories of industries in Rwanda that can enter the global market. By providing these industries with support, we need to engage with them to identify ways to improve their performance, enabling them to become more competitive on the global stage. Yes, we are already there, and we have industries that can reach this level and are currently exporting, but they face challenges in doing so. This is where I believe the government should invest in the program to support these industries.
The first phase of the National Strategy for Transformation concluded with the industrial sector contributing 22% to the country's gross domestic product, surpassing the target of 21.7%. To the education sector, university students have expressed concerns that the changing duration of their postgraduate studies is affecting their plans during their time at university. The Higher Education Council has stated that it will hold a consultation to explain the rationale behind the decision to extend the study period to 4 years. We have more on this. University students, particularly those at private institutions, have cited several reasons why they believe the duration of a bachelor's degree should remain at 3 years. Most of the time, students start university with a specific plan and budget, including how they will manage their finances. It would be very difficult for them to adjust to a 4-year program, especially if they had not initially planned for it. Sudden changes would make it hard for them to secure the additional budget needed. Therefore, I believe they should stick to the original 3-year program. Dr. Rose Mukankomeje, the Director General of the Higher Education Council, stated that it is a requirement for students to complete 480 credits in order to successfully earn a bachelor's degree. The principle is that a student must complete 480 credits to earn a bachelor's degree. Currently, we are transitioning to a competence-based curriculum, although it has not yet been fully implemented. This means that if a student is required to complete 120 credits per year, they will also have time to rest and manage their workload effectively. Dr. Emmanuel Hakizimana, Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Academics and Research at the University of Lay Adventists of Kigali, stated that the university continues with its 3-year program, as there has been no official directive from the institution indicating an extension to a 4-year program.
Kugeza uyu munsi umurongo w'imikorere dufite turimo turigisha program.
To date, the line of work we have, our programs are 3 years, and there is no directive that shows that we should change to 4 years.
Hari ibwiriza mu buryo bwanditse turabona ritubwira ko duhindura tukajya mu myaka 4.
In a text message, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Rwanda, Professor Kayihura Muganga Didas, confirmed that the institution has reverted to a 4-year program. He stated, "For us, this is no longer a debate. We have even received 2 intakes and have returned to the 4-year program." The Director General of the Higher Education Council, Dr. Rose Mukankomeje, added that discussions are ongoing to determine the necessary steps to enhance the quality of education. We plan to conduct a dialogue with school leaders, whether they own the institutions or lead them, as well as with lecturers, to reach an agreement. It is important to clarify this to ensure a shared understanding. In February 2013, a consultative meeting was held with education authorities where it has decided that students should complete their studies in 3 years to facilitate quicker education and enable them to contribute to the development of their families and the country. However, there is now a discussion suggesting that students should study for 4 years to improve the quality of education. Moving ahead, Franz Arnold, an American researcher and Nobel laureate, highlighted that the African continent possesses unique natural resources that should be harnessed for both scientific and humanistic research. These have to go hand in hand with utilizing ability and talents of African young people. Franz Arnold reiterated this in an exclusive interview with our colleague Adam Squizera. Take a look.
To say I'm not an expert on African situation, but you have 18% of the smartest minds in the world, right? The world population, 18% is here, and you have all the young people. So use and grow these incredible resources, right? Which are the brains of the young people. Encourage science and exploration of science and technology. So I'm interested in the chemistry. And right now we make all of our products using dirty chemistry that creates waste and pollution. Biology doesn't. Biology does beautiful chemistry, cleanly, selectively, recyclable, using renewable resources. If we could encode into DNA the chemistry we use to make products in our daily lives, in the future we'll be able to use nature to make the things that we need. But Africa has so many resources. Nature knows how to use most of them. If we can work with nature, work with biology to make things that humans need, then we don't have to pump the oil out of the ground and put the carbon into the atmosphere. Because nature can take carbon from the atmosphere and turn that, well, for example, into trees. Why not turn that into jet fuel? Why not turn that into pharmaceuticals, food, materials, textiles? Biology can learn how to do this. Well, human chemistry is dirty. We're not as good. Biology's had 4 billion years to learn how to do clean chemistry. What we want to do is recode biology to do what humans do today using oil, for example, because biology can make the same sorts of things using carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. One of the biggest growing areas in my field is pharmaceutical manufacturing using biology instead of human chemistry. So if you make, say, a pharmaceutical, it can take 17, 18 chemical steps with lots and lots of waste made. If you can encode it into DNA, then there's very little waste. This is a forefront for biocatalysis in industry right now.
Tomorrow news, Airtel Rwanda has become the first telecom operator to launch voice over 4G technology in Rwanda in just a month. The company says this technology is already being used by 1 million subscribers.
We already count more than 1 million customers who have registered on this service and who are enjoying the quality. It's very important that you understand that now when we pass a call with a smartphone, the voice is not using the old network anymore. And this is a big change because we have turned all the old model of voice to data by putting our network 100% 4G. All our sites, and there are more than 1,000 sites, are now all 4G.
The managing directors add that now calls are to be made over 4G LTE long-term evolution network rather than the traditional circuit switched networks used in older technologies like 2G and 3G, and this comes with many advantages.
The quality of the call is really much better. You don't use 2G or 3G network, you are using the 4G network only, and it has a quality similar a little bit like WhatsApp. When you call, before you were billed by minute or by second. The concept of minute of duration is not valid anymore, because now the voice, like when you send a photo, is not using minute or second, it's using data.
You're You're still watching RTV News. Now let's take a look at global matters. With the incoming Trump administration's pledge to begin mass deportation of undocumented immigrants in the United States, some mayors in Democratic states are taking steps to prepare for the new policies. VOA has more on this.
Democratic New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced that the migrant shelter at Floyd Bennett Field will close by January 15th. The shelter is in a national park where federal authorities, not city officials, have jurisdiction.
We have been concerned about Floyd Bennett Field since the election results. It is the only shelter on federal land, and we do think that could pose additional risks.
In recent interviews, President-elect Trump has signaled that he will prioritize border and immigration enforcement early in his administration. Democratic leaders have been working to shield undocumented immigrants before he takes office. Meanwhile, immigrants without legal status at the shelter have expressed concerns about stricter enforcement under the new administration.
I see that he is a man who says what he means and keeps his word. Let's wait and see what happens.
Jose says he believes that the actions of a few individuals are unfairly tarnishing the reputation of all immigrants.
There are many immigrants like my compatriots who come to commit crimes and steal. So sometimes just because of one person, everyone pays the price.
Jose is part of one of the two largest immigrant surges in U.S. history. During the Biden administration, roughly 8 million immigrants entered the country. The second comparable migrant wave occurred in the early 1850s, according to New York Times analysis of government data.
I think the numbers that we've seen in the last couple of years are historic. The largest number that we've seen in history by pure number, not by necessarily by percentage.
In the face of these overwhelming numbers, New York City Mayor Adams is adopting a conciliatory approach. Recently, he met with President-elect's incoming border czar to discuss the evolving situation.
My conversation today with the border czar to figure out how do we go after those individuals who are repeatedly committing crimes in our city. We're going to tell those who are here, who are law-abiding, to continue to utilize the services that they have a right to utilize, educating their children, health care, public protection. But we will not be a safe haven for those who commit violent acts.
Many of Mayor Adams' recent actions may be strategic moves to retain a measure of local control, Corcoran suggests.
I do think that one of the calculations he's probably making is he may be recognizing that he might not be able to stop all mass deportations or all mass raids in New York City. But if he's seen as cooperating to some extent, he may have some leverage to sort of figure out how those raids might be prioritized or what communities might be protected.
As blue state leaders adjust, it remains to be seen how effective these efforts will be. Aaron Rainin, VOA News, New York City.
And this story brings us to the close of today's edition, but before we go, here is a quick recap of the top stories we've covered. Rwanda and Germany have signed the grant agreement worth 20.97 million euros, equivalent to over 30 billion Rwandan francs. The Chief Justice Domitila Mukanaganzwa has called on newly appointed court leaders to prioritize cases related to murder, corruption, and genocide ideology. On the international scene, with the incoming Trump administration's pledge to begin mass deportations of undocumented immigrants in the United States, some mayors in the Democratic states are making steps to prepare for the new policies. And that wraps up today's bulletin. Thank you for joining us for today's broadcast. On behalf of the entire news team, we wish you a productive week ahead. Stay safe.